These are my 2024 MLB predictions for standings, awards, and playoffs. Now, this is no ordinary predictions video you see on YouTube, because for every division winner and runner-up I predict wrong, that's going to equal one egg that gets thrown at me, but only if we hit 5,000 subscribers by then. So if I make some really bad predictions, I could have like a dozen eggs chucked at my head. Starting off with the AL East, coming in at 5th place, we got the Red Sox. They had kind of a disappointing offseason. I did like Lucas Giolito, but he got injured, and right now the pitching rotation looks very uncertain. I think their lineup's still pretty solid with Devers, Cassis, and Yoshida, and I'd like to see Tyler O'Neill and Trevor Story bounce back. I know you should never count out the Tampa Bay Rays, but at number 4, it's going to be the Tampa Bay Rays. So go ahead, sue me. Please don't sue me, I really can't afford it. But they're going to be missing Shane McClanahan and Drew Rasmussen, which is going to be a big loss. But Zach Eflin's pretty underrated, and I think Aaron Savali has some good potential. I really like Ryan Pepio, and I think they got a lot of hitters who can mash in this lineup. At number 3, I'm going to give it to the Blue Jays. They had a very weird offseason, but I think this is the first time in a while that people are actually starting to doubt them. So I think this is a big prove-it year for them. They have one of the best rotations in the league, though. Their top 3 is Gosman, Bassett, and Barrios. For the lineup, it seems like they're trying to improve internally, which could work because Vlad, Bo, and Springer all have some pretty high ceilings. We just need to see it this year. So if the Jays can hit like they did in 2022 and pitch like they did last year, they could be one of the top teams. And winning the AL East this year, I have the Baltimore Orioles. Their lineup rakes. They got Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday. Hopefully he gets called up this year. Corbin Burns is a huge upgrade. And I like that they added Craig Kimbrell to replace Bautista. And at number 2, I got the Yankees. Adding Juan Soto was great, and losing Garrett Cole for 2 months was not. They got some young guys coming up, and I still believe in Carlos Rodon that he's going to be good. They missed the playoffs last season for the first time in a while, but this year I think they'll do well. Coming at 5th place for the NL East, we got the Nationals. They got some really nice prospects like James Wood and Dylan Cruz, and they got some young guys to look forward to in the big leagues right now, like CJ Abrams and Josiah Gray. I just don't see them coming much higher than this. At number 4, we got the Marlins. Alcantara getting injured is going to hurt them a lot. They still got Jesus Luzardo and AJ Puck, and I think Jazz Chisholm needs to prove himself this year that he can stay healthy. I feel like they need some more power in this lineup because it seems like a lot of their hitters are just contact hitting and middle infielders. Number 3, I got the Mets. They actually have a pretty sick lineup with Alonso, Lindor, JD Martinez, Nimmo, Alvarez. They got a bunch of pitchers on one-year deals who I think they'll trade at the deadline for some prospects. And winning the NL East, I got the Atlanta Braves. They got one of, if not the best lineup in baseball, with Acuna, Riley, Albies, Matt Olson, who just hit 54 home runs. And for the rotation, I think Spencer Strider and Max Fried could both have Cy Young caliber seasons. And coming at number 2, we got the Phillies. Their core is slightly starting to get a little bit older, but I think their lineup and pitching is still pretty good, especially in their lineup with Harper, Realmuto, Turner, Castellanos, Schwarber. They got a really good 1-2 punch in their pitching with Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. Taijuan Walker's pretty decent. The rest of their rotation is a little questionable. 5th place in the AL Central, I got the White Sox. Losing Dylan Cease hurts, but Garrett Crochet and Mike Soroka actually looked really good this spring training. They still got some nice hitters like Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert. At number 4, I got the Tigers. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but they actually finished 2nd last year in their division, but I think losing Eduardo Rodriguez is going to hurt a lot. But at the same time, Skubal I could also see stepping up and being an ace. I like a lot of the young guys they have on their lineup, like Meadows, Green, Torkelson. And number 3, I got the Royals. Their lineup is low-key really good. Bobby Witt could have an MVP caliber season. I like a lot of their other guys like MJ Melendez, Salvador Perez, Vinny P, Hunter Renfroe. For the rotation, a lot of people seem to be big on Cole Ragans this year, and I think Brady Singer has a lot of potential, and I like Seth Lugo and Waka as their depth pitchers. And winning the AL Central, we have the Minnesota Twins. Get it? Because we're twins? They got a solid rotation with Lopez, Desclafani, Ober, and Ryan. Pretty solid lineup too with Carlos Correa, Buxton, Royce Lewis, Kepler, Eduardo Julian. At number 2, I got the Guardians. I think they're kind of an underrated team this year. I like the rotation with Bieber, McKenzie, and Beebe. Their lineup has some solid hitters too. I like both the Naylor brothers. For the NL Central, this was the hardest division to rank. It seems like any 5 of these teams could win the whole division, but at number 5, I got the Pirates. I think they're an underrated team. I really like what they did this offseason, bringing in Chapman as their closer. Eric Lauer has a lot of potential too. I think they got a good core in their lineup with Reynolds, Cruz, and Hayes. And number 4, I got the Brewers. It's unfortunate that they lost Burns and Woodruff's out for the season, but I have high expectations for Freddie Peralta. Their lineup's still pretty good with Hoskins, Yelich, and Adames, and Contreras. And number 3, I got the Cardinals. They now got Sonny Gray as their ace, which was so needed for them. I'm not too sure how I feel about getting Lance Lynn and Gibson. It still seems like they need some better starting pitching, but their lineup's pretty sick. They got some veterans like Arenado, Goldschmidt, Contreras, and a lot of good young guys like Nolan Gorman and Jordan Walker. And winning the NL Central, we got the Cubs. I actually find they didn't make a whole lot of improvements this offseason. They brought back Bellinger, and they replaced Stroman with Imanaga, so it seems like they're going to rely on Justin Steele to be really good this year again. They still got a nice lineup, good defense with Nico Horner and Swanson up the middle. I really like Michael Busch, Morel, and Suzuki. And coming in second place, we got the Reds. There seems to be a lot of hype over them this offseason, and they have a nice lineup with Steer, Ellie De La Cruz, Jonathan India. I still feel like they need more of an ace pitcher, but their rotation could go a lot of different ways. I think this is a fun young team to watch this year. Also, drop a comment on how you think I'm doing on these predictions so far. As always, I'll try to respond to everybody. For the AL West, coming at number 5, we got the Athletics. They did add JD Davis and Ross Stripling this year. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. I like Brent Rooker, Seth Brown, and Zach Geloff. At number 4, we got the Angels. Maybe if they had someone like Ohtani, they'd make the playoffs. Oh, wait. They still got some exciting young players like Logan O'Hoppe and Zach Neto. We just need to see Trout on a winning team. At number 3, I got the Mariners. Their 1 through 3 in the rotation is really good. Castillo, Gilbert, and Kirby. Solid lineup too. I think if they do make the playoffs, they can make a really deep run. And winning the AL West, I got the Houston Astros. They got a great lineup with Altuve, Bregman, Tucker, and Alvarez. They got a crazy bullpen. I think currently, since they have a healthy rotation, they're going to be better than Rangers right now. And at number 2, we have the Rangers. They got a sick lineup. They got a good mix of veterans and young players. Simeon, Seager, Langford, Carter, Garcia. Just super nasty. Some of their pitchers are going to be missing in the start of the season, like DeGrom and Scherzer. I think they're going to be good all season long, but I could see when those guys come back that they'll get especially hot at the end of the season. You see this thing right here? Yeah. That's not 5,000 subscribers. What are you waiting for? It's free. Why don't you subscribe? Yeah, I'm talking to you, Jimmy from Idaho. At number 5 for the NL West, we got the Rockies. Nolan Jones is really good. I hope Chris Bryant bounces back, but every pitcher in their starting rotation has a projected ERA in the 5s. At number 4, I got the Padres. Now, I do think adding Dylan Cease definitely helps their chance of making the playoffs, but at the same time, they didn't make the playoffs with Cy Young winner Blake Snell, Juan Soto, and Josh Hader, and they lost all those guys, so I'd still say that they got worse this offseason. Now, their lineup is still good. I like Bogarts, Tatis, Kim, and Machado, and they got a nice 1 through 3 in the rotation. At number 3, I got the Giants. Really nice offseason. They improved a lot. When they're healthy, they got a 1, 2, 3 in the rotation of Snell, Webb, and Robbie Ray, and their lineup got a lot better too, adding Jorge Soler, Matt Chapman, and Jung-Hoo Lee. And winning the NL West this year, we got the Dodgers. I mean, who else was I gonna pick? They had a wild offseason. They still have a lot of depth. It is interesting that Yamamoto got lit up his first start in Korea, and he has got lit up a few times in spring training too, but I still think they're gonna rake. They got a sick lineup with Betts, Freeman, Ohtani, Teoscar Hernandez, and Will Smith, and then their pitching's Glasnow, Yamamoto, and Walker Buehler. They're still gonna be good. At number 2, we got the Diamondbacks. They got a good rotation. I think they fixed a lot of the holes they had in their lineup this offseason. They got a lot of good hitters: Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, Gurriel, Walker, Jock, and Gabriel Moreno. They had 84 wins last year. This year, I think they're gonna have like 87. Before we get to the playoffs, we're gonna do awards. And to make things fun, I'm gonna go with all underrated predictions. For the AL Rookie of the Year, I gotta go with Wyatt Langford. He destroyed spring training this year. He was great in college with the Gators, and he tore it up in the minor leagues last year. He went from rookie ball to AAA in just 44 games, all while having an OPS above 1,000. I think people are starting to realize just how good he is. For the NL, I'm gonna go pretty underrated here. I'm gonna go with Kyle Harrison of the Giants. He was fine last year, but he looked really good this spring. He strikes out a lot of guys, and he has a new pitch coming this season. For the AL Cy Young, I was considering doing a Mariners pitcher, but I'm gonna go with Kevin Gausman. I almost didn't pick him because he's going to have a delayed start this year, but I still think he's one of the most underrated pitchers in the league. Finished top 10 in the Cy Young in the last 3 seasons. He's elite. I think this is his year. For the NL, I'm going to go with Freddie Peralta. I've been a big fan of him for a while now. He wasn't so great this spring, but he does strike out a lot, and I think if we can have a full season from him, he's going to be pretty good. AL MVP, honorable mention to Bobby Witt Jr., but I got to go with Julio Rodriguez. He had a really good second half last year. 32 home runs, 37 stolen bases. He's been really hot in the spring. For the NL, I'm going to go with Austin Riley. He's been really consistent his whole career pretty much. He's going to be 27 this year, entering his prime. For the first round in the playoffs for the AL, I'm going to go with the Orioles, the Astros, and the Twins. And for the last 3 spots, there's like 4 really good teams who can make it, but I'm going to go with the Rangers, the Yankees, and the Blue Jays. I could totally see the Mariners making the playoffs. I just don't know where to put them. For the NL, I'm going to choose the Braves over the Dodgers. Then I'm going to go with the Cubs, the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, and the Giants. So in the wild card series, we're gonna have a matchup between the Twins and the Blue Jays. Only the Twins don't have Sonny Gray this time, and I think I just like the Jays 1 through 3 in the rotation better, so I'm gonna have the Jays move on. Then we're gonna have the Rangers and the Yankees. I think this one's gonna be close, but if DeGrom and Scherzer are back, I think that's gonna help them a lot, even though they'll have Cole and Rodon, so I'm gonna have the Rangers win. For the NL, the Cubs and the Giants, I think I like the Cubs lineup better, but I like the Giants pitching better, so I'm gonna have the Giants move on. Phillies, Diamondbacks, I wish I didn't have to eliminate the D-backs this early, and I know they eliminated the Phillies last year, but I just feel like this Phillies team is so well built for the playoffs. The ALDS, we got the Battle of the Birds, Blue Jays and Orioles, but I'm gonna have the Orioles move on. Then we got the Battle of Texas between Houston and the Rangers. I think it's gonna be really close, but I'm gonna have the Rangers move on. For the NLDS, we got the Braves and the Giants. I think the fun pick here is to choose the Giants, but I think I gotta choose the Braves to move on. Then we got the Dodgers and Phillies, and this pick doesn't completely make sense, but the playoffs don't always make sense, so I'm gonna have the Phillies move on. I just really think they're built well for the playoffs. For the ALCS, we got the Orioles and the Rangers, two really young stacked lineups, but I'm gonna say the Orioles pull through here and get the win. For the NLCS, we got the Phillies and the Braves, and the Phillies seem to make deep runs the past couple years, so I'm gonna have the Phillies move on. And in the World Series, we got the Phillies and the Orioles. So winning the 2024 World Series in 6 games, we have the Baltimore Orioles. And if you want to see my hot takes video for this year, click right here. Get it? 'Cause we're twins?